You ever feel like you're just stuck before you even get going?
Oh, definitely.
Like you've got this amazing idea, maybe a project you really care about or a goal that, means something.
Mm-hmm.
You can picture it finished. Maybe you've even mapped it out,
Right.
but actually starting,
Mm.
it just feels impossible, like pushing a giant rock.
Yeah, that inertia, it's a really common feeling. We build the whole thing up in our heads.
Right, the sheer size of it.
Exactly. And the path just looks, well, terrifying. It's that moment right before you take the plunge where all the resistance piles up,
And it just freezes you.
stops you cold.
Well, that's actually exactly what we're getting into today.
Mm.
We've been looking at this source that really tackles this specific problem. How do you get past that initial wall? How do you actually begin?
Yeah, and this material, it offers a surprisingly simple idea, almost kind of counterintuitive, really, for breaking through that paralysis, for finding that momentum.
Okay, simple sounds good. Let's unpack it.
Yeah.
So one concept the source brings up is this phrase, the weight of someday. What's that about?
Right, the weight of someday. It really captures how we tend to put things off, doesn't it? We say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
someday I'll write that book, or, someday I'm going to get serious about my fitness. We imagine this perfect future time.
Where everything aligns.
Yeah, where the conditions are just right, or we'll suddenly feel, I don't know, magically ready.
But that leads straight into that whole analysis paralysis thing, right? You're so busy planning for someday
Meticulously planning every single step.
that you never actually take step one. You never leave the starting block.
Precisely. And the source is pretty clear on this, that perfect someday basically never comes.
Doesn't exist.
Rarely, if ever. There's always going to be a reason to wait. A meeting, you're tired, it's Tuesday, you know.
Oh, right.
So delaying, waiting for that perfect moment, it's really just, well, it's procrastination dressed up nicely. You're letting that weight of someday pin you down.
Okay, so if waiting is a trap and over-planning is a trap,
Mm-hmm.
what's the secret? What does the source say is the key to actually getting started?
It really boils down to one thing, one single powerful action.
Which is?
The biggest secret to starting and keeping going, it's just taking the very first step.
It sounds almost too simple for such a big problem.
I know, right? And that's kind of the beauty of it. The source uses this great analogy, the domino effect.
Okay.
Imagine your big goal, the one that feels huge and intimidating. Picture it as this incredibly long line of dominoes.
Stretching way out.
Yeah, hundreds, maybe thousands of them. If you look at the whole line, thinking about knocking all of them down, it's completely overwhelming. Seems impossible.
You don't have to knock them all down yourself.
Exactly. That's not your job in that moment. You don't worry about domino number 500. Your only task is to just push the first one.
That one little push.
That tiny initial flick, that's what starts the whole chain reaction. The massive goal suddenly feels manageable when you realize your only job right now is to tip that first domino.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical because the source is super specific about what that first step should look like. It's not big,
No, not at all. In fact, it argues it has to be small.
like really small.
Yeah, crucially small. Trivial, even. Almost. Almost laughably easy. The whole point is to make it so tiny that your brain can't argue with it.
No room for resistance.
Exactly. It needs to feel like something you could do, like right now. Minimal effort, minimal commitment.
Okay, give us those examples from the source for those big, scary goals people have.
Okay, so writing a book. Huge goal.
Terrifying for many.
Right. So don't think about the whole plot or chapter 1, the first step. Just write one sentence.
One sentence. Wow.
Or maybe just outline one single paragraph. That's it.
Okay, one sentence.
Right.
I can see how that lowers the bar. What about getting fit? That's another classic.
Yeah, huge one. So you want to get fit. Forget scheduling that hour-long gym session you know you'll probably skip.
Wow.
The first step is do 10 push-ups right now. Or maybe just go for a walk for like 5 minutes.
10 push-ups or 5 minutes walking. Compared to the massive idea of being fit, that feels, incredibly small, almost insignificant.
But that's the point. It's designed not to intimidate you. Or starting a business, another big one.
Yeah.
Don't get bogged down in the full business plan or finding investors yet.
Yeah.
Just research one competitor, see what they're doing.
Okay.
Or even simpler, grab a napkin, jot down one potential product idea, just one.
So the real power isn't in how big the action is.
Not at all.
It's just in the doing, the act of taking any step forward.
Precisely. Think back to that resistance we mentioned. The fear of failing, fear of what people think, the scary unknown,
Hmm.
all that mental friction, it's strongest before you start. It's like static electricity holding you in place.
Yeah, like trying to push a really heavy car that's been sitting there. Getting it rolling is the hardest part.
Exactly that. But the moment you take that tiny, tiny first step, write that sentence, do those push-ups, you break the static. You overcome that initial hump.
Something shifts.
Yeah, something fundamental changes inside. Even finishing that trivial little task, it creates this spark of momentum. It proves to yourself right away, okay, I did something. I can do this.
So that tiny win makes the next small step feel easier.
Significantly easier. You've basically just shattered the illusion that starting is impossible.
Okay, so this brings up a really direct question for you listening. Think for a second about something you've been putting off.
Yeah, that goal that feels too big. The one collecting dust under the weight of someday.
Can you pinpoint, like, the absolute smallest, most trivial, almost silly first step you could take towards it? Like right now, or maybe later today?
And don't even think about step 2 yet. Or step
Hmm.
3, don't worry how this connects to the end goal way down the line. Just focus. What is that single, immediate, tiny action?
Make it so small you literally can't say no to it.
Right, because as the source really hammers home, it's not about the size of the action, it's about the statement you're making by taking it.
It's a declaration.
Yeah, you're telling yourself, and the source even suggests, kind of telling the universe, I'm serious about this, I'm committed, look, I'm starting.
And it puts things in perspective historically too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Every massive achievement, every great work of art, every incredible journey throughout history,
It all started somewhere small.
it all started with a single, often very humble, first step. The first brushstroke, the first note played, the first line of code, the first conversation.
They didn't just appear fully formed.
No, they unfolded step by step, but they were all kicked off by that crucial first little push, that first domino falling.
So bringing this all together, what's the key takeaway for someone listening right now who feels stuck?
It's really, don't let that vague, heavy idea of someday keep you frozen today.
Yeah.
Forget the huge picture for just a moment. Focus on the immediate, the doable.
Just push the first domino
Just push the first domino, start small, start now even.
and trust that process. Trust that taking that first tiny action actually builds the momentum.
Yeah, trust that it makes the next step feel less like a mountain and more like, well, just the next step.
Okay, so here's maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Consider this. How many potential masterpieces, and that could be anything, a creative project, a personal change, a new business idea, how many of those are sitting stalled in your life right now?
Just waiting.
Just waiting for nothing more than one single tiny push to set them in motion. What small action, maybe even today, could unlock one of them for you?